Wait, what did I? Huh? Uh, uh, this was not really what I expected. No, no, delete, delete, delete. No, no, it can't be. It can't be. It can't. Alright, hey guys, and welcome to another video rant slash hope delivery, I think. Um, Today it's gonna be pretty much about why the MCU should have hired me. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Or maybe I'm not, but kind of kidding. Today is gonna be about what the fans deserve to get from the film and what we hoped, or rather, what mostly me hoped would have happened. So today it's kind of going to be a very discussion-ish video. I've gathered some ideas from my friends and I have kind of put together some thoughts onto what could have made the movie actually like awesome. Like the things that we wished we saw, the things that we kind of missed out. Um, yeah, all those things. So once again, if this is your first time over here, welcome, 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 welcome. And without further ado, let's just proceed to have a look at the teams we have. So, on one side, we have the team Avengers, which consist of several smaller teams. So, we have, of course, these are major characters I'm talking about. One of them is Cap, and then we have the new Professor Hulk, we have Tony Stark, Iron Man, we have Captain Marvel, who has been getting a lot of hate lately. And personally, I'm just getting this out there. I have no personal hate for Brie Larson or Captain Marvel. I mean, she can be whatever in real life. I'm just looking at what she is on screen. And sometimes it's not up to the actor. I'm just going to say actor throughout. I'm not going to use the word actress because that's where the division starts. That's where you start looking at, actors and actresses as two different things. They're all actors. That's the job description. So sometimes the actors don't get to decide, and they get told like you're gonna be the best, you're gonna be the strongest Avenger, you're gonna appear and you're gonna whack everyone. And I mean, as the actor, you know, who barely knows about the lore, I think so. You kind of just have to go with it. And it would be wrong if you're not excited about that. Like people tell you you're going to be the strongest Avenger. Even though it's your first film, you're still going to be happy about it because that's your right to do so. And unless the actor specifically demanded that, he or she be put to be the strongest, it's not their fault. Then we have Black Panther, T'Challa, who had a fantastic film, by the way, um, but wasn't really like utilized as much compared to the other Avengers because I guess they have had several films. And the thing about Black Panther is that a lot of the limelight went to like the distributed team of Black Panther, which is Wakanda, which is really nice to see. So it feels like Black Panther is really the king that he's supposed to be because it's not just about him, it's about his entire kingdom who is willing to fight. Like, I don't see anyone else being able to call their nation to come and fight. The only one who was fighting in Infinity War as a nation was Wakanda. So that's pretty cool. And then we have Scarlet Witch, Wanda, um, who is, by the way, very, very powerful as a character. So, in order to nerf Scarlet Witch in the MCU, what they've done is they've made her young and naive and kind of a widower because, she loses vision and she disappears in all that pain and regret. But just before she disappears in Infinity War, she managed to destroy the Soul Stone that was in Vision, which tells you just how powerful she actually is. And she did that while holding Thanos back. So that's a very decent representation of her power. Of course, in the battlefield as well, we got to see one scene where she kind of throws back this giant wheel robot thingy, which I think it kills Proxima. Yeah, so that's around her power level. But she can't sustain it for long periods of time, which is understandable. That's kind of the way you limit the character, so that's okay. But this is good because they established that that's what she can do. The only thing I was upset was the fact that she didn't really use her psychic, like the mental abilities that she has. She could like confuse the entire Avengers and get the Hulk angry, get Tony Stark going psycho and stuff, but they never really showed that ability later on. Then we have Spider-Man, one of the most loved characters in Marvel as a whole. We have a very young, very new Spider-Man. I think he's at the right place. He's kind of the guy who looks up to Tony Stark and is trying to keep up with him. And that seems to be where they have decided to put Spider-Man. Of course, in the comic, Spider-Man is rather independent, doesn't really rely on people, doesn't like to rely on people, and is very particular about his identity because he wants to protect those he cares about. Whereas in this film, I mean, I'm talking about Endgame, of course, he gets his helmet off, like his mask off, like every 5 seconds. It's almost like it's difficult to breathe or something in his suit, which doesn't make sense because Iron Man is in his suit, and this one is made by Iron Man as well. Then we have Stephen Strange. Doctor Strange is, I would say, like top three most powerful in terms of, like overall power level in the Avengers. And this is without him using the Time Stone. With the Time Stone, he is just the most powerful Avenger. Of course, in the comics, Thor is definitely more powerful because Thor can also time travel. He can manipulate time using Mjolnir. He has reality warping abilities that pretty much outclass that of the Sorcerer Supreme because Thor's powers span throughout the 9 realms. Doctor Strange only protects this reality. So there's that. Then we have the god of thunder himself, Thor Odinson, who now, without Odin, should be possessing most of the Odin force because he is to be the next king of Asgard, and rightfully so. We saw a lot of lightning coming out from him in Ragnarok. We saw a lot of brilliant scenes for him in Infinity War. We saw a very good progressive character arc for him. And if you haven't seen my previous like review video, I've said a lot of good things about Thor because Thor had a very unique character arc. He started off very simple, very funny. He was strong like throughout, but he lacked maturity. And this maturity came to him in Infinity War. And he knew that even though there are forces he definitely cannot defeat, like Hela, he had to find ways to survive long enough to outwit her. And they managed to do so by getting Surtur to destroy Asgard. So there was that. And then in Infinity War, he found a weapon made for a king, which was Stormbreaker. And Odin already mentioned this, which is Thor has the power, he just needs Stormbreaker to channel it. It's kind of like how Harry Potter needs a wand, which is pretty much what it is. So he gets a better weapon, which is Stormbreaker, and Stormbreaker turns out to be the Thanos killing kind weapon, which is what he says in Infinity War, and it works brilliantly towards the end. And in Endgame, we didn't see any of that. In Endgame, it was the total opposite. Thanos, without the Infinity Gauntlet, could defeat Thor with 2 hammers. Bullshit, absolute bullshit. Then we get Ant-Man. Ant-Man is a character that I like personally, but I'm more of a fan of Hank Pym. I'm not really familiar with Scott Lang, but this Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, um, forgive me if I'm saying the name wrong, Paul Rudd, I think, and his Ant-Man is rather lovable. Like he gives you the feeling of this dad guy, who's just trying to do the right thing, and turns out he's like, chosen by Hank Pym, and he gets to prove himself, which is a really nice story for an Avenger because none of the other Avengers have such a simplistic story. All of them have like, they blow stuff up, they do world class things, whereas Ant-Man just kind of sticks to his team and does his own thing, which is really nice to see. And then And then, of course, there's a lot of family aspects to Ant-Man that make him what he is. So yeah, it's kind of nice to see it. I'm not too much of a fan of the new Ant-Man, but still, it's good. And then we're back to Captain. So Captain America is, how can I say this? You see, Cap is a human being. He's got a super soldier serum that makes him very, very strong. He's probably like the strength of what, 10, 20 men. He could hold a helicopter, which probably takes like what, the strength to carry maybe a 4-ton vehicle, or like a small bus or something. Because he's not as strong as Spider-Man, and Spider-Man can lift an entire bus, which means Cap can probably lift like half a bus maybe. And we've come full circle. So Captain America's strength should be well established as such. He's nowhere near the strength of the Hulk. He's nowhere near the strength of Thor, which means that if he were to fight Thanos single-handedly, that's straight up death. And we saw this in Infinity War towards the ending, where he tried to hold Thanos' hand, like just his bare hand, and Thanos just like flicked him and he fell aside. And that's really what he is. In this film, we see something totally different. I mean, of course, he's wielding Mjolnir and he uses lightning bolts, way more lightning bolts than Thor ever used, which just I was not really happy about. But I mean, they should have utilized his fighting abilities, his like close combat abilities in a more unique manner. I mean, of course, they had a great fight, the hammer and the shield. Yeah, it's cool and all. But one hit from Thanos would have sent him flying across the battlefield, probably to his death. So now, let's have a look at Team Avengers. Okay. So the thing about the teams are the fact that I feel, I mean, of course, this is a very big movie, and the production team, the directors have all done a fantastic job at showing as many people as they can in a scene. And I mean, of course, the fight was good and all, but I felt it was not as good as Infinity War, and I felt that it should have been better. And these are just my thoughts. Take it with a pinch of salt. Give your own ideas. I'm very open to the ideas of other people. I love to see how other people would have liked to seen things. There was this guy, like, a comment that I read somewhere that said that they should have had what is that? They 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 should have had. Sorry, I'm losing my trail of thought. What was it? Hawkeye. Yeah, they should have had Hawkeye like perched on top of Ant-Man or something, so that Hawkeye had a more visible role, because his name is Hawkeye, right? Hawk is basically this thing that's in the sky, and it has a very sharp eye when it hunts for its prey. But this Hawkeye basically never managed to take off the ground, because who's gonna take him up into the air? So the best thing, the coolest thing would be for Hawkeye to be perched onto Ant-Man, because Ant-Man is now Giant Man and it's just rampaging through the battlefield, which is amazing to watch. The punch he threw on one of Thanos's ships was amazing. Um, but the fact that he stepped on Black Dwarf and killed him instantly was not really amazing. I'll get to that in a bit. So what they should do is like cluster the teams. So during the battle, we didn't have an intergalactic battle. Thanos destroyed half of all life in the universe, not just on Earth. So the moment Thanos appeared to the base of the Avengers should already have created measure for this. Like they should have already collaborated with other planets in the universe to like get to know each other, because Captain Marvel is doing like intergalactic recon, right? And then there's Rocket, who's also going around and helping a few planets, I think. So while all this is happening, where are the superheroes from the other planets? Where are like the representatives of the other planets? We never saw any of that. It seems like Earth is the only one with superheroes, which was really weird and inappropriate. Like, Thor's friends from the other 9 realms, who used to like help him fight and everything. They should have got like representative from those other nine realms. We didn't see any of them. So yeah, that's that. So Ant-Man should have brought his ant army, like when Hank Pym finally returns, he should have just brought his ant army to join the battlefield. And that would have been so freaking cool. As for Black Panther, yeah, he brings the entire Wakandan army, which is cool. But the Wakandan army just seem like foot soldiers. Where's all their amazing technology? You're telling me the most advanced nation in the planet runs into the battlefield with a bunch of spears and swords? If Shuri has blasters, why don't all of them have blasters? Like they can't afford blasters? That doesn't make sense. They said they're very rich, they're very advanced, they have all the vibranium in the world. They could have made an army of Black Panther suits. You get what I mean? Or they could have brought the rhinos, like the rhinoceroses that they had, like breeding in Wakanda for like the previous years that we saw. None of those things ever joined the fight. Rhinos rampaging would have been cool. And then there's of course Okoye and who doesn't really fit, like anywhere really in the battlefield, to be honest. I feel that the only place that Okoye would have like really fit is together with M'Baku and a rhino. Like if they were two on top of a rhino, like kind of what do you call that thing? Jousting their way through the battlefield. That would be pretty cool. And then Shuri. Shuri is a little girl. I said this in my review. Shuri should not be on the battlefield. It seems highly irresponsible of Black Panther to put a young girl on the battlefield. And don't get me wrong, Peter Parker is like what, 15, 16, but he could take a blast from, like one of Thanos's army's guns or something, or he could take a bullet and he'll survive. Shuri won't. Shuri's dead, straight up dead. So the right place for Shuri to be, if you ask me, is to be in a safe house, commanding the battlefield, actually utilizing the genius she is. When we were in Infinity War, we heard a lot of people comment on Shuri's geniuses. They were like, oh, Shuri's smarter than Bruce Banner, she's smarter than Tony Stark. She is making fun of Bruce Banner with the fact that they never thought about extracting Vision Stone. And then in the end, she fails to extract Vision Stone anyway. What would have been a good way to enforce the character in this is saying that she actually succeeded to copy Vision, but she just didn't have enough time to create a body for him because Vision went out to fight. So, and then she brings a new Vision that she has created, but one without the Mind Stone to the battlefield. That would have been pretty cool. So that's Black Panther. As for Captain America, Captain America's got two very good friends who are very good at battle. Like there, he has the Winter Soldier and Falcon, and Winter Soldier I think gets a vibranium arm, which Rocket wanted to steal, which they should have shown. They should have shown like Rocket finally getting away with Winter Soldier's arm, as compensation for what Rocket said in the previous film. Um, and they didn't do that. They didn't do any of that. Like I was kind of bummed out about things that things. These little details are the things that the MCU was famous for at the start. Like, oh, I remember this from the start of the film. Like the ending of this Endgame, they show this Tony Stark proof that Tony Stark has a heart. I felt that was important. And then the one where Falcon appears and says "on your left" to Cap. So see, these are the things that tells you that they remember everything that has been happening from the start. So they should show more of that. So if Captain America were to go head on against Thanos, he should have gone with Winter Soldier and Falcon. It should have been a 3v1 battle. And that would be the right way to do it. Not Captain America solo 1v1 against the Mad Titan. That is suicide. And yeah, I mean, you can say that Cap needed a solo fight. He needed to prove that he finally deserves to fight against Thanos. Like no, dude, this Thanos took out the Hulk in like 5 seconds. He could like knock out Cap in a single punch. So what they showed to us was just not realistic in terms of the power levels that they have set. They are not consistent. So that's all I asked for. Like if the Cap fought together with the Winter Soldier and Falcon, like kind of the synergy that we saw in Civil War, that would have been really cool. And that tells you that like, you know, Cap is like he's not a one man guy. He's an army. He has his friends, he has his intelligence, he fights smart. That's where he should be. Um, so yeah, there's that. And he should have probably just picked up the hammer just to like throw like one or two lightning bolts and then hand it back to Thor. And Thor should have continued smashing Thanos from there. And then we have Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange comes in a really cool scene. He opens this mass portals to bring in the army, and he does nothing after that. He does absolutely nothing after that. You know, to be honest, Doctor Strange had one of the coolest fight scenes in Infinity War because he was the only one who actually fought against Thanos while Thanos was wielding like most of the stones of the gauntlet. He actually used, I think, like four or five stones or something, four stones, I think, four stones, while fighting Doctor Strange, and that was really cool because Doctor Strange was figuring out ways to counter Thanos' attacks, and we never got to see any of that in this film because Doctor Strange kind of just sat in a corner holding up a wave of water, and they decided that, oh, that's good enough, just keep doing that, and we will just end the movie with you doing that. That was so lame, guys. Like, come on, just create like a portal and just let the water run through it. You know, like rain the water on Thanos or something. That would have been cool. That would have been smart. And then people are so like, oh, we gotta get the Infinity Gauntlet across the battlefield. Just ask Doctor Strange to teleport it across the battlefield, or just teleport the van or something, you know, or just teleport the Infinity Gauntlet across the world and let Thanos chase after it. How is Thanos going to chase after it? I'll get to that in a bit. So then there's Hawkeye, who, as I said, he should have been in like the top of a really high place. He should have been on Ant-Man's shoulder, or maybe he should have been on Rocket Raccoon's ship as Rocket flies it through the battlefield, trying to take on one of Thanos' ships. That would have been cool, because Rocket should not be on the ground on the battlefield. That looks like animal abuse, to be honest. Rocket has a cool ship. He's a Guardian, and he's a good pilot. So they should have shown that. And then the Star-Lord and Drax and Groot and Mantis. Mantis as well does not really belong on the battlefield. So there's like a way to put Mantis in the fight. I'll get to that in a bit. As well as Drax, Groot, and Star Wars, but not Rocket, man. Rocket might die. You know, it's just so small and scary to see something like that run around the battlefield. And then the Scarlet Witch, who, being not just one of the most powerful characters on the field, but also a very important character because she has not got revenge for what they did to Vision. So there's that. There's also Thor, who has Valkyrie, has his friend Cog, who seemed to be a warrior, right? Cog was there because Cog was part of the like gladiator arena thing or something in Ragnarok, and then here he does nothing. And then there was like an entire family of Asgardians who Thor escaped with, who were living on wherever Thor was. Give me a sec. All right, sorry, I had to get another light on. It's getting kind of dark here. So, yeah, so Thor had an entire group of the remaining Asgardians who are not ordinary people. Like most Asgardians could fight. He should have brought that army. And then there's Loki, who, of course, he disappeared in 2014's Time Jump. But I feel that they should have done a little more with it because, I mean, of course, we established that everyone likes Loki, right? Everyone likes Loki. Come on. But the thing is that Loki, you know, he had this cool scene where I don't know if all of you noticed it, but when the briefcase was being kicked by Ant-Man, Ant-Man kicks the briefcase to go to like Tony Stark, and the briefcase has the Tesseract in it. Loki saw the briefcase get kicked, and then Loki looks down and he sees Ant-Man running. This is a really cool scene because it establishes exactly how powerful Loki is as a character and also how dangerous Loki is. And then the moment Loki gets the Tesseract, that's like a boom moment, it's over kind of moment. But it should not have been over. They should have made it such that Loki teleports around to figure out what these Avengers are up to, because he clearly knows that there's like a duplicate Avenger somewhere. And he could have snuck in together with the Avengers using the Space Stone and followed them back to Earth. And that would have been pretty cool because this Loki is still a villain and he could have fought alongside Thanos. Or he could have fought alongside the Avengers if Thor manages to convince him of what happens, the fact that Loki sacrifices himself and all that. That would have been really nice to see. Okay, so that's one team, we've established that. The second team is Team Thanos. Okay, so what I felt was really bad in these Avengers films was the fact that we get it, Thanos is a great villain. Um, he has a great ideal. He's a really terrifying character and all that. But putting all the weight on Thanos seemed like it's not the right thing to do. You have so many Avengers, and you're putting all the attention on a singular villain. It seems kind of forced. So Thanos is the Black Order, right? The army, which in this film Endgame manages to like come back together with him because it's still in the past. So this Black Order, of course, they are lacking one member, which is Supergiant. Those of you who are comic book fans may know who Supergiant is. As for those who are MCU fans, Supergiant is another member of the Black Order who was not added in the MCU, and I don't really know why. But I feel that more villains would have helped Thanos a lot because that would allow us to distribute the fight. It could have been such that the big three like Cap, Thor, and Iron Man were taking on Thanos, and they shouldn't be taking on a naked Thanos. And what I mean by naked Thanos is not the Thanos without clothes; it's Thanos without any Infinity Stones. So here's the thing, right? There is a little loophole that I'm not too sure about. You guys can correct me. In 2014, Thanos was going after the Power Stone, which is what Nebula was saying. So at this point, Thanos had already decided to, I'll do it myself. So Thanos actually has the Infinity Gauntlet, like his own Infinity Gauntlet. He doesn't need the one that was made by Tony Stark, which doesn't make sense, by the way. I've also mentioned this in my rant. It doesn't make sense that Tony Stark can make a weapon that requires Nidavellir and a heart of a dying star and Thor to like burn half his back to do it. If Tony Stark could do it so easily, he could have just made a copy of Infinity Gauntlet for everyone. So back to the point. This Thanos actually has his own Infinity Gauntlet. I think so. So if I'm not too accurate about that, you guys could help me out. But what could have happened is when Thanos bombarded the Avengers base, they could have made it such that the gauntlet, right after Thanos, like Hulk snaps the gauntlet, an explosion ensues, and then when Thanos hits the base, the Infinity Stones get scattered throughout the battlefield, which would be really cool because now it's like a race to see who gets the Infinity Stones first. And then there would be like a scenes of juggling between the Avengers, where every one of them is trying to get different pieces of the Infinity Stones, and they have to fight different members of the Black Order to do so. So Thanos himself manages to pick up a single stone, and I feel that rightfully it should be the Power Stone. Why the Power Stone? Because the Power Stone is somewhat the least powerful stone. I know that seems kind of contradictory because it's called the Power Stone. But it's true because the Power Stone is the only stone that does not manipulate other unique aspects of reality. Like the Soul Stone is dangerous. You could change someone's mind. The Space Stone allows you to teleport anywhere throughout the universe. The Time Stone is one of the most powerful stones. Let's not even go there. And then the Ether, the Reality Stone, is also really powerful because that completely can wreck the battlefield. And then there was, did I miss out anything? Space, time, power, ether. reality, and soul. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's about it. So yeah, I mean the Power Stone should be rightfully with Thanos, and that way they could balance out the fight. That way it makes sense if Thanos is stronger than Cap, Thor, and Iron Man combined, and the three of them can have their fun with Thanos. A really good fight scene would ensue. As for Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, it could be cool to see Doctor Strange and Spider-Man teaming up because that's what happens in the comics sometimes. And those two characters have these really, like quirky dialogues, and they kind of fit in well together. One serious, one funny, and then they both understand each other's jokes. And they try to take on Ebony Maw, whose psychic powers are really, really cool to see. And it'll be really cool because Spider-Man does a lot of dodging, and Doctor Strange does a lot of magic. So it'll be really cool to see them fight. Whereas as for Corvus Glaive, Scarlet Witch could be trying some kind of revenge against Corvus Glaive because Corvus was the first one to come and pick on Vision and then did so throughout most of the scenes in Infinity War. And as for Proxima, Proxima could be fighting Black Panther and his friends, like Okoye, M'Baku, and Black Panther, all three of them. And Proxima should be able to take the three of them on. If you were to read the comics, Proxima Midnight is really, really powerful. She can literally wreck entire mountains with her weapon. But the fact that Okoye could defeat her in the previous film was just kind of unfortunate and silly. And I feel that they should have, bumped up her power level a little bit and let her kind of enjoy the battle. Of course, during all of this, all the Outriders are still causing, chaos everywhere. So let them do that. But a hero deserves a villain to fight, right? You don't want a hero to just be fighting mobs. Like let mobs fight mobs. You got an army, they got an army, let the armies fight. Heroes deserve to fight villains, and that's what I say. Okay, and then we have Black Dwarf. So Hulk kind of needed, Banner needed the Hulk when they previously fought the Black Dwarf, and the Hulk refused to join the battlefield. But this time, the Banner and Hulk are one, which would be the appropriate way to match Black Dwarf and the Hulk versus each other because now we get to see the brains and the brawn together. We get to see the Hulk actually use the intelligence of Bruce Banner in the battle. And that'll be really cool because, of course, we get it. You manage to figure things out, you manage to balance the Hulk and Banner together. But what does that do for Hulk? We get to see Banner's genius, but we don't get to see Hulk's combat ability, which was the thing I really, really wanted to see. Because now with Bruce Banner, Hulk should be fighting like a super genius. He should be calculating his moves, and with that kind of strength, that'll be really cool to watch. So we needed a solo fight definitely for the Hulk, and we also needed a fight for Hulk and Thanos. But that should happen right after Hulk gets rid of Black Dwarf, because that's like the first stepping stone to say that this is how far Hulk has come. And then, as for the army, like the rest of the army, we'll get to see Ant-Man taking on the ships, Thanos' ships, taking on the outriders and stuff who try to like climb onto the giant man, and then Hawkeye takes out the outriders that are climbing onto him, and then we have Captain Marvel kind of also fighting together with Ant-Man to take on the giant ships. Maybe Ant-Man grabs them, Captain Marvel like blows them up. That's fine. That's nice to see. And then this is where things get interesting. All right. If you read the comics and if you watch some of the cartoons, you get to see Thanos do a lot of other things with the Infinity Gauntlet, which we did not get to see here. So what they could have done is shown that some of the members do lose to the Black Order because maybe the ship, like overpowers them or the Outriders overpower them. Um, excuse me. So what they could have shown is Thanos starts to get the stones one by one, right? So let me go to like Team Thanos and just show you guys Thanos from one of the cartoons, I believe, where Thanos uses the gauntlet to become like galactic size. So he's like really big. I don't know if he's like bigger than the Earth in this scene. I can't remember, but I know he gets super super big, and it would have been really cool to see a giant Thanos fight a giant Ant-Man. That would have been really awesome. Hang on, let me just close this. Um, go to like where's the Ant-Man? I think Ant-Man is somewhere. Oh, there you are. So yeah, a giant Ant-Man versus a giant Thanos. I think we deserve that scene, right? Come on, guys. And as for the rest of the Black Order, of course, um, they all deserve to be really, really powerful as well. We can't cut them off. Like they're Thanos' generals. Do you think you would hire someone to be a general if they just got beaten by like what Okoye and Captain America? Like, are you serious? They should be able to challenge the likes of like Doctor Strange, like what Ebony Maw did. They should all be that strong, you know? And if you see on the far right, you see Supergiant, who's the character missing from the film. But yeah, that's just unfortunate. So maybe they could have introduced Supergiant at this time. They could have said that this was the character that maybe died in the Battle of Xandar or something like that, and then shown Supergiant. So yeah, besides the giant Thanos fight, we could have also had. So yeah, Thanos starts to pick up like one of the each of the Infinity Stones, right, one at a time. So that would have not just been cool, but that would have been very how can I put it, appropriate because we want to see Thanos get back his like full power before the end of the finale. We want to see him fight to his maximum, right? We don't just want to see an empty-handed Thanos, which is what we got. We got a Thanos who never got a single Infinity Stone, beating up almost half of the Avengers by himself. It was so illogical. And Captain Marvel comes down to save the day. Like, I mean, it's just so sad to see, how a movie from Infinity War to this, it's just like a downfall of great filmmaking. And of course, Infinity War is not like the greatest film out there, but it's a really good movie. It's like for me, probably one of the best superhero films I've ever seen. It's like top three, along with the likes of The Dark Knight and maybe Spider-Man 2. And yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate that it had to come down to this level, you know? So I wish I could just wipe out my memory and then just like get back to the good parts, which I feel could have happened. So then, as Thanos starts to get, like each and every one of the stones, we get to see one of the stones, the last stone, the time stone, not be able to be taken by Thanos. Maybe Doctor Strange takes it back and he says, "Not this time." And then he uses the time stone to what do you call this? Like reverse the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos's hand backwards or something, and then Doctor Strange gets it. And then what he does is when the stones like scatter across the battlefield again because he reversed the time, right? Each of the Avengers go to pick the Infinity Stones, and Doctor Strange, like beforehand, he plans that each of you should be here to pick up the stones, and then they do that, and then they get the stones, and then here's who I feel should be holding the stones, right? So hang on, I saved it somewhere here. Did I? Yeah, somewhere here. All right, let me just create one more text. Now, you know what? Let me just duplicate this one, copy, then like paste the duplicate, and then this duplicate gets like this thing. Okay, so down here you see what I feel should have been the like the thing that each Avenger gets. So Captain Marvel should be able to grab the Space Stone. Doctor Strange is the wielder of the Time Stone. Hulk holds the Power Stone. Hawkeye holds the Soul Stone. And the reason I say Hawkeye holds the Soul Stone is because after Hawkeye sacrificed Black Widow, he was holding the Soul Stone in his hand because he earned it. And it's possible that the person who earned the Soul Stone does not get harmed by using the Soul Stone. So even though Hawkeye is human, he does not get harmed from using it. And then Scarlet Witch should be able to wield the Mind Stone because she basically got her powers from that, which is also why Captain Marvel can wield the Space Stone because she got her powers from that. And then Thor, I feel rightfully should wield the Reality Stone because, well, he's powerful enough to do so. So with all of these Avengers holding these stones, they hold hands and they kind of do it Guardians of the Galaxy style, where all of them together combine their strength and then get rid of Thanos' army. And it doesn't have to be about the snap. This is not the Addams family where it's all gonna be about, you know, it's just you just have to use the stones like normal. And if you can build like an Infinity Gauntlet out of Tony Stark's, scrap metal or whatever, then it shouldn't be a problem. And that could have been the coolest ending. Of course, you say that, oh no, but they needed to kill off Iron Man or whatever. Okay, I respect that. That's your version of it, but this is what I would have loved to see. And it would have been cool if Ant-Man did shrink at some point while fighting Thanos and actually like launched himself towards Thanos' ass just to fulfill the meme. And as he's launching, Thanos kind of like creates a force field or becomes small again or something like that. It would have been funny just for some fan service because the meme was out so long ago during production, and adding a scene like that for people, especially considering these guys, right? They do reshoots. They do so many reshoots. There are scenes that are in the trailer that are not in the final film. Like doing a reshoot for fan service is not an issue considering the number of fan service you already have in the film. And I would have liked to see that. That would have been funny. Like, of course, he doesn't have to go up all the way, like, but he just has to like launch himself as the tiny Ant-Man and like just Thanos just shrinks back down or something like that. Because Thanos can also become small. He doesn't have to be big. If he has a reality stone, I mean. So yeah, that would have been cool. Trying to get Thanos back with all the stones, and then stop right before he gets the last one, so he can't redo what he has done before. That anticipation, that build up would have been so cool. Getting to see all the Avengers join forces to wield the stones, as what they are. They are a team. That's why they're winning. They're winning because they're a bunch of heroes that work together, and that team is what's really important. And getting to show all these characters together would have been really cool. And of course, they have to redeem Hulk, and Hulk's redemption would have basically been a brawl between Hulk and Thanos, where Hulk finally, like after the team joins forces and like uses the stones to send everyone in Thanos' army back, and then they don't send back Thanos because they say that no, we want to keep you because you need to answer to one last guy. And then the Hulk comes out, and then the Hulk is like, we got unfinished business. And then Thanos is like, oh, I defeated you before, do you think you can do it again? And then, well, this time Hulk has got brains as well, so the way he fights, he has excellent combat technique and strength, and just bashes Thanos to the ground. That would have been so cool. And he should like throw Thanos down, like Hulk smash him. And the rest of the Black Order just surrender as a result of that. And this will be very important because it will show that the Avengers are not murderers. They don't have to kill everyone. They don't have to kill Thanos. They don't have to kill all of the Black Order. They don't have to kill the army because they don't belong in this dimension anyway, right? So if they want to get rid of the worst threat, they capture Thanos and they capture the Black Order. Uh, that'll be good. That's the right thing to do. And then the rest of the army they send back to the other timeline. Um, that will also be really good. Or they send Thanos as well back, and then they leave them with maybe the Sorcerer Supreme or something like that, and she like chains them up in the mirror dimension, the alternate reality dimension that the Sorcerer Supreme can access. And that would have been appropriate because taking things out of another reality and then killing them here, I don't know what kind of like disruption that would cause, but apparently no one cares about that in this film. They just mess with the timeline, and I've already made another video about that, about what happens when you mess with the timeline. So I'm not going to go into that theory again, but yep, this is just my ideas on what I wish the film was. And I really wonder what you guys wished could have happened. Now, of course, this is not going to change anything. This is not going to change the fact that we got what we got, and we just gotta accept it, and we gotta learn to appreciate it, no matter how much we hated it or how much we expected, you know. And then some people say, "Oh, you should have had low expectations." Dude, I had low expectations, you know, but my low expectations were like about as much as, how can I put it? What like infinite, Age of Ultron? Yeah, like Age of Ultron. And I felt that after rewatching Age of Ultron, I feel that Age of Ultron is basically better than this film. The only thing that made this film better for me personally was kind of the way they showed Tony Stark making the decision of whether he should help, and then like 5 seconds later, he changed his mind, which was also a bummer. And then Black Widow's sacrifice. So here's another unique twist, right? Like a little bit of a darker twist. Um, of course, we know Cap went back in time and stayed in time, and I've already explained the time travel theory that that's not possible because all that is absolute bullshit. It cannot happen. So if you think about it, when Cap goes back, there is another captain somewhere frozen in the ice, which means this future Cap is actually stealing the girlfriend of the Cap who is in the ice, which is really creepy, you know? Can you imagine if there was another you, like locked in a cupboard somewhere, and then the future you goes back to have fun with your wife because you know that, you know, the past you is locked up and you can't do anything about it, and then the past you wakes up like 70 years later and finds out that you've been married to his ex-girlfriend. That's like the creepiest shit in the world, man. Yeah, that would be really creepy. I mean, yeah, of course, that's one thing that thankfully we did not get to see. Thankfully, I ascertain you. I do not wish for cruel things like that to be shown. Um, yeah, but of course, it would have been cool to see Loki. That would have been really nice. Loki finally joining Thor and then them fighting together on the battlefield again or something, you know? That would be nice, but that's okay. They didn't have Loki. It's fine. Also, when Thor went back to his place in Asgard to take the ether, right, from Jane Foster together with the Rocket, I was surprised that Heimdall didn't know. Like Heimdall sees everything, right? And surprisingly, Heimdall did not communicate with Thor. Heimdall did not say a word. He did not show up. The fact that Heimdall can see everything and not see time travelers is kind of stupid. I don't know if they completely missed that point, but I think that's the case. They missed a lot of things apparently, so I guess missing Heimdall is not another. It's just another thing that they missed. Um, I mean, there's that. There was one other thing that I was thinking of that I can't really recall now. I guess I should have actually written down everything that I had. I think maybe I missed out one or two things. Let's see. We have um oh yeah, yeah. I wish we saw Friday control the Hulkbuster to the fight. Like just Friday, like the AI just control the Hulkbuster. That'd been pretty cool. I wish I saw Rescue suiting up. That'd been also pretty sweet. And then, you know, like Thanos teleporting around the world with a space stone, uh, trying to fight Doctor Strange, and then Doctor Strange finally teleporting the two of them back to the battlefield. That would have also been nice to see. The reality stone from Thanos trying to like undo, like, you know, like kill everyone or something, and then Scarlet Witch uses her reality warping powers to stabilize everything together with Doctor Strange. Would have also been cool to see. A lot of things, man. There's so many things that they can do, and they didn't even do half of that. We had a Cap versus Cap fight, which I mean, it didn't even make sense. Like, Marvel fans are making fun of the DC EU because Superman says save Martha, Well, guess what? In this, Cap says Bucky is alive to the other Cap. It's like what's the difference? It's the same thing, and that saves him. And then he uses Loki's staff, which I don't even know how he knows how to use it, but he uses it. Um, so yeah, there's that. There is that. Um, so yeah, I guess that's about it from me. Um, of course, I have so many other things that I would like to say, but um, I guess what's done is done. I have to move on, and so do you. And if you've watched until this point, it means that you're kind of in the same dilemma that I am, which is what on earth happened, right, in this film, especially after the beauty in Infinity War was. So I hope that our voices reach the Marvel universe, and I hope that they take it to heart, understand like where the fans are, and then try to make a change, you know? Like what would have been cool is oh yeah, here's another thing. This would have also been cool, right? Sorry, let me just get this out there. It would have been really interesting to see how important Black Widow was. Like you see Black Widow running Shield, right? After everything else in the last 5 years. And you don't get to see much of the Earth. Like they don't show like since there's 8 billion people in the world now, almost 8 billion. Half of 8 billion is 4 billion, which is still a lot of people. But they make it look like it's post-apocalyptic, like there's no one in the streets. And then even the birds on the tree, there's like no birds, and then suddenly birds come. It should have been like one bird, and then two birds come. That's the logic, if 50%. But of course, half of all life could be, since it is unbiased, could also mean that 100% of the Earth is gone, but another planet survives. Because it's 50% of all life, right? Which means everyone is in the same probability. That could also happen, but let's just say it's 50% of each planet, of each species, right? So 4 billion population would still be there. And they could have shown how um, Black Widow actually learns from Nebula about the Soul Stone and plans her pair up with Hawkeye because she knew that her sacrifice was the only thing that would make sense. And she needed to go with Hawkeye so that Hawkeye sacrifices her. So she kind of plans her death. That would have been really dark, but also really cool to see. So yeah, there's that. Also, what they should have really shown. Okay, yeah, this is a very important thing that I missed out. Thank God I remembered this. What would have been really cool is if they showed how Thanos' ideal actually worked. They should have shown people like actually questioning whether what Thanos did is right because it's been 5 years, right? And maybe after 5 years, people actually realize that Thanos was right. Like, people start prospering, the world has more resources, people start forgetting the dead, people start like celebrating, for what Thanos has done. Little cults form, and these cults are like happy for what Thanos has done, and then some people are against them, some people are supporting them, and then maybe even some Avengers are agreeing to it. It could have been really dark in that sense, where at one point maybe Thanos was right, and someone questions it right before they undo everything. Maybe they question like, what if Thanos was right and all of this is, the way it should be. But I guess I'm expecting too much. Like my thoughts are like Zack Snyder, Christopher Nolan kind of, perception. I don't doubt these guys would even think anything like that. Because all this while in Infinity War, they were emphasizing how Thanos could have been right. And we had so many memes as well. Maybe Thanos was right, like too many idiots in the world and we gotta get rid of half of them. But in this film, they didn't show any of that. They should have shown at least a small population of people agreeing to the fact that Thanos, did the right thing. And undoing it should have been like a tiny dilemma, which should have been cool. So, yep, that's it from me. Um, another day after Endgame. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it, guys? Hmm? All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Adios.